Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today on Sorcerer's Shadow Volume 2, we are going to be talking about the essay titled Breaking a Curse, Jinx, or Hex. Now, this particular essay will focus very heavily on a family technique that has been passed down to me called stick breaking. Later on in this series, we will discuss methods of breaking more direct material link type curses, many of what this volume has focused on. Stick breaking doesn't have as heavy an effect on those. It is more for things that are happening on the mental or astral plane, but it is very useful. It is a very simple, very powerful technique that can be used not only for that, but can be used as a preventative measure for anything that you're concerned about might be occurring in your life. Okay, so like I said, later on we will get to the material links and we will discuss there not only how to break those links, but how to make it so that someone having a lock of your hair or of your fingernail clippings can become their problem and not yours. So look forward to them episodes. That will be later on in this series. This one will be on stick breaking. I'm going to discuss how it works first, and then we will discuss a little bit about curses versus hexes and jinx and how it affects each one of these, and then I will wrap it up with the different ways that you can use a stick breaking to not only break curses but to prevent other things from happening in your life, as well as preventing anything that you might want to stop. It works well for heavy cord cuttings. There's a lot of things that work for the stick breaking. We'll get into all of that. But before we get any further, if you would like to read the essay, you can find a link to a Google Docs copy of the essay in the description portion of this post, along with a link to where you can purchase a copy of The Sorcerer's Shadow Volume 2 on Amazon, should you so choose. Okay, so a stick breaking, as I said, is something that was been passed down to me. I've spoken of it on the channel a few times. I even have an earlier episode where I discuss how to do it, and I also have mentioned it in the guild many times and have suggested it to many people for many different types of curses or things, or different things of bad luck that are following them. And it is a very simple technique. You take a stick like this one here, well, any stick really. It needs to be one that you can break easily, and place it between your fingers. You don't have to hold it exactly like I am. That's just how I tend to hold the stick. And imagine the curse that is being pulled into you, drawn into the stick. If you don't know who cast it, it doesn't matter. It's connected to you. You connect to the link through the stick, whether it be a curse or a hex or a jinx. Doesn't really matter for the definition at this point. Like I said, we'll get to that in a bit. But you just imagine that link to any negative intention, whether it is directly in a curse or something like that, or simply just the evil eye, or whatever, or just anything bad that might be coming your way even. Just draw it into the stick. Imagine it being drawn into the stick, so the stick becomes part of that line of fate. And like I said, you can use this with anything. You can use this for many different things, but we'll stick with if it was something directed like that towards you for this first demonstration. So any curses, jinxes, hexes, any ill intent aimed at you, you pulled into the stick, and then you imagine that line of fate flowing through the stick, becoming one with it. Allow that thread to enter into the stick, go from one end to the other, become part of it, and then you break it, and it is broken. It's a very simple but very powerful technique. and it is very effective on any type of astral attacks or anything that's coming through the mental plane. Anything that has not yet reached the material, a stick breaking will work very well. As I talk about in the essay, you can use a stick breaking not just to break curses, to break curses or jinxes or anything of that nature, but you can also use it to prevent things. Very simple things even. Like if you were worried that you wouldn't wake up in time to get to work tomorrow. You can imagine any lines of fate that prevent you from waking up on time to get to work, anything that might cause you to be late on your way to work. Draw any of those lines of probability and possibility into the stick and break it. Now, of course, you're still going to need to set your alarm clock and all that sort of thing. This can be used for anything to lessen the possibility. Yeah, it breaks apart the line of fate. If all the pieces are still there for something to be likely to happen, like if you use a stick breaking to make sure you're not going to be late for work, but then you don't set your alarm clock and you stay up real late, well, the odds are still that you're going to wind up late. This will help lessen them, but still, set your alarm clock. Don't stay up too late the night before. Perhaps don't drink too much. Whatever it is that's causing you to be late. Stick breaking alone won't fix it, but it can help. Okay, now, like I said in the essay, this can't be used to, like, break a stick and say, I'm going to be on time, in the example that we used. That isn't going to work. You could technically use this to help your roommate not be late for work, or even, I hope my roommate doesn't come home at 3 o'clock in the morning drunk. Now, is it going to work? It will lessen the odds of It will lessen the odds. But if everything is lined up for that to happen already, it is a good chance those threads will reform, just like with the cord cutting. Now with curse work, that's different because you pull the link, you're connecting right to the link that's attached to you and breaking it. So for most things like that is really effective. Now, like I said, I will discuss the difference between a curse, a hex, and a jinx, because I don't make that clear in the essay, but it is useful information to have, especially for our own vocabulary purposes when we are discussing these types of things in the guild. Okay, so a curse is directed spell work. It doesn't have to be created through material link, so anything where they're using, but a hex stuttering pretty bad. A curse has a link that is sent out or created. Yeah, so that could be the hair. If we're in the poppet, like we discussed in a previous video, it can be sending weaponized sigils at somebody once you've made like a sigil to represent them, and then cast up at that sigil, that sort of thing. Anything where you're creating the link and directing intent at them is a curse. A lot of times with curses, you're just sending basic ill intent. And is that a link that you created by either sigilizing their name or their birth chart, getting their links of their hair, anything like that, that's a curse. A hex differs in that a hex is something where there is a trigger mechanism, is one of the big differences. Like where you put a line of powder and have the person cross it. That type of thing is a hex, but a hex also is typically very directed. Like you might hex someone to break their leg or something like that by putting hot foot powder in their shoes, or by putting go-away powder on someone's door. This is more of a hex type thing. I suppose in that same vein, even pouring war water on someone's property would be a hex, while putting their hair in war water and creating a bottle would be a curse. Okay, and so then a jinx. A jinx isn't always intentional. This is things like the evil eye in its classic form of someone looking at you enviously and it causing you bad luck, which that's pretty much superstition. I don't really think that things go that way. But either way, it's a good example of what I'm talking about with a jinx. And a jinx doesn't always necessarily, like that's not always necessarily something picked up. Your little superstitions. Like if you happen to believe that stepping under a ladder is bad luck. I actually have a whole lot of workings that involve sitting under or near a ladder that is going through a spirit hole. We'll be talking about those eventually on the channel. So I certainly don't agree with that one. But any superstitions that you have, those little worries, can be pulled into a stick and broken. Doing stick breaking to get rid of it. It's like another version of throwing the salt over your shoulder in those circumstances. Now, of course, superstitions only harm you if you believe in them. But if you do believe in them and you're having a hard time getting rid of that belief, stick breaking can alleviate that tension that you feel and let you know that it's not going to work. Now, the jinxes can also, like I said, just be bad luck, bad things that you've picked up, bad patterns in your life. Like if you notice that you tend to attract a certain type of person, doing a stick breaking on attracting that type of person before you go into a different type of situation to attract new people. So don't, like if you keep meeting bad people at the bar, don't do a stick breaking to not meet them same type of people and then go to the same bar. Because you're still putting yourself in the same situation. That's still the probability there. But if you do the stick breaking and then instead of going to a bar to meet people, you go to a drum circle or whatever type of social events you enjoy, that is going to be much more productive. Yeah? Okay, so, like I said, let's see. We've covered how to do a stick breaking. We've covered quite a bit on how it affects things. What haven't we covered? I did discuss a little bit on let's discuss a little bit on why it doesn't work with material links. It's that same thing. There's that already made connection. So if someone has your hair in a bottle of war water, doing a stick breaking is going to lessen it. It's going to slow it down for a little bit. But there's still something going on there that's being repeated, and doing the stick breaking isn't going to break the bottle that war water is in, yeah? So there are other ways to deal with that we're going to be talking about in upcoming episodes. Stick breaking can mitigate even those. Surprisingly, a stick breaking can be very powerful on old curses. I have actually used this to break ancestry curses because it was all in belief. As long as there isn't something directly linking to the blood and keeping it going, a stick breaking can often break hereditary curse work. And suddenly the people are clean, and it's just this simple, easy thing of pulling a stick to getting the hereditary curse work in there and breaking it. Now, it's not going to work every time. If there's something still holding that link. But a lot of times, whoever casted it is long gone and doesn't care about it anymore. It's basically just a floating line in there. It seems like, oh, we have to do this huge, massive working to get rid of this curse on my ancestors' line. Well, there's nothing keeping that going. Often, a simple stick breaking, clear stuff like that right up. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.